again. I already put the actual title. 1, 2. Yeah, mine just need to go. I don't know if my headphones are or just up a little. Which one are we recording that one? Yeah. One, 2, test. Bit louder. How's the mic? Test. 1, 2, bit more. 1, 2. Test. There we go. I think that's better. Okay. Test. All right. Yes. Is that all right with the camera?
Yep.
See that? Yep. Test. Yep. Backdrop all right? Lights all right? Maybe we should shut that curtain a little bit, just in case somebody walks past. Okay. That's fact, it's all right. All right, we're live. Where are we at? We're live. We are... My kid wants to be a... All right. Does it not need to be a bit more around here? All right, Instagram, nice to see you. Hello. It's been a week. It's been a minute. There we go. Good. Looks to me... Oh, you're going for a different angle. Cool. Right, everybody, nice to see you. Hello. Instagram, nice to see you. YouTube, good to see you. Where else are we? LinkedIn, nice to see you guys and everybody listening on the podcast today. What a show we've got to share with you today. It's been a minute, and my absence will be explained in just a moment. It's all good. It's all been fantastic. How are you? Nice to see you. Jordan, hello. Good to see you. Type into the chat who you are and where you're from as you come into today's show. We've got an hour together, guys. So we're going to go for 60 minutes, which I'm excited for. I am back. David Sedgen, nice to see you. I've just come back from Liverpool. We did an amazing event in the United Kingdom for our UK and Irish members. If you are listening to this and you are from the European side of the Atlantic, the colder side, well, certainly this time of year, please know that we do have lots of events happening. We have a wonderful community, and we went to Liverpool last week. I took my community to my favourite football stadium. My favourite football team is Liverpool since I was a kid. And I got to take 50 of our members to Anfield last week for a mastermind event there, where the topic was AI. And, you know, as I said to everybody in that meeting, there'll never be a conversation now where it doesn't involve AI. We're already there, guys. And every challenge, every problem you've got really needs to start with, how can I use AI to solve this problem? So it was terrific. It was wonderful. The next big event that we have is going to be in Los Angeles, is when the world tour continues. We're all over the world this year, and I can proudly say that. We are all over the US. We're going to be in Dublin at the end of the year. We're back in London in the summer. We've just been to Liverpool. We've got Orlando coming up in October. So we are global, and that's, you know, it's pretty cool. This community is getting bigger and bigger, and that's what LA is about. If you're just hearing about it for the first time, it's called the Cash Pay Summit. We're going to celebrate 10 years of this community's success. Millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions, in fact, has been made by this community since we started it in 2016. Many have become from scratch millionaires, and we really are leading the way when it comes to growing and scaling seven-figure clinics. And I'll say that confidently. Many of the people that have dabbled with starting coaching groups when it comes to Cash PT probably started in my room somewhere, Virginia or in Orlando, or on one of my coaching programs in 16, 17, 18. So I'm proud to say we've pioneered this. You know, there's others obviously out there as well who've had a terrific impact, Jared Carter, people like that. But we've had an above average level of success, let's just put it that way. So if you're interested and you want to come to Los Angeles, it's going to happen May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd over in LA. Get in touch immediately. We always say Instagram is the easiest place these days to talk to us, or send an email, paul@paulgoff.com, or you can head over to cashpaysummit.com. Right, we're going to get into it. What else can I share today? These are the updates. What is today's topic? We know how this works. Before I ask Mr. Producer Jason, is there anything going on in the world right now that we should be talking about, or should we just leave? Should we leave all of that right now?
Not too much. Not too much going on. There's some trades going on with NFL at the moment, and yeah, NBA's creeping on the playoffs soon, so it's gonna be pretty dope.
I'm excited for the playoff season. I'm banking on. Well, it looks like Orlando. We're going to get the play in by the looks of it. Is it?
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna be
They should still make it though.
We're going to be play in. Which is always fun. I went to the game last year in the play-in, and as long as we get to the playoffs, I still think it could be anybody's.
Anybody
Could be anybody on the East. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. I'm excited for that. And spring break coming up for us as well here in Orlando. I'm taking the kids to North Georgia for spring break to a lake house up in Georgia. So that's what's going on in Paul's world. I'm excited to find out what's going on in our members or our great listeners' world. Hit me with our first questions again, just to bring everybody into this. Questions are unscripted. They get sent to me before, they get sent in Instagram. I don't see them. We get anything up to 10 or 15 before every single call that we do. And it's producer Jason's job to filter through the questions, find the best ones, and he hits me with them live. I love hot mics. It's the feature of my sessions at my big events. I love it when people come to the mic and ask me questions spontaneously, and that's what this show is. Coffee with Goffy. Got my cups and my mugs. Do you like my new Paul AI hoodies? Are we having the swag? Yeah.
They're pretty good.
They're pretty dope. What do you say, dope?
Yeah, pretty sick.
Pretty sick. Okay. We will take the first question, please.
All right, so we got Stephanie Grant, Denver, Colorado here. My kid wants to be a PT. I don't have the heart to tell her it has left me broke.
Wow, what a kickoff question that one is. So my kid wants to be a PT. I don't have the heart to tell me it's left me broke. Wow, where do we go from here? So Stephanie's a clinic owner.
Yes.
Stephanie's a clinic owner in Denver. Her kid's looking at her mother at this point and thinking, I want to be like you, Mom. Mom is thinking, I don't want you to be like me because I'm broke. This business thing has left me broke. Is that kind of what we're getting at?
Yeah.
Oh, Stephanie, where do we start? How do we unpack this? I always think it's a really good question when I'm a little bit speechless and don't always have an answer for it, which doesn't happen often. So this is a dynamite question for a show like this to kick it off. Where do I start? I think there's a couple of places that we need to go when it comes to talking about this. Number one, let's reverse this and figure out why we're broke in the first place, right? Let's talk about why the business has got to the point where we are broke. Because I think that's the real conversation here that we need to have. It's not that being a PT leaves you broke. It's not that running a PT business automatically leaves you broke. It's that I didn't do a certain set of things inside of the business that has left me broke. And that's what really the discussion is about. So we can't say that running a PT business automatically leaves somebody broke. But what we can say, if I don't do a certain set of things and I don't respect the business and I don't market the business and I don't price the business appropriately and I don't learn the rules of business, then there is a fair and reasonable chance that I will end up being broke. So essentially what Stephanie's done here, she's tried to play the game without understanding the rules. So I think if I had a kid that came up to me at 18 and said, I want to be a PT, which I've had, my kids have discussed it openly with me and said, occasionally, they've flirted with the idea that they might want to be a PT. And I would ask them why. Like, why would you want to be a PT? I would say, what type of life do you want? And then do you think that being a PT can help you achieve that? Because that's the real smart question. So if I'm talking to a child about this, right? So this is why I say there's two different elements to the question here. First of all, if I'm talking to the child, I'm having a genuine conversation not about whether or not being a PT has left me broke. I'm having a conversation with the child in the same way that I did with one of my kids, Tobias, and said that if you want to be a PT, does it allow you to live the quality of life that you want? Now, the reality of being a PT, an actual therapist, is that it limits what you can do, right? There's a salary cap. There's going to be a huge student loan at the other end. Heaven knows what it will be like in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years when Tobias gets to college. It's already $200,000, and some people are never actually paying this thing off. So I'd be having a conversation with my kid about what quality of life do you want? What quality of life do you want? You may want to emulate me, and that's, fantastic, because in this case with Stephanie and her daughter, obviously Stephanie's daughter sees her as a role model, and that's wonderful. It's just every parent's dream that your kids want to follow in your footsteps and want to be like you, and so on and so forth. But I think the real parent conversation, the leadership conversation in the home here is, what type of life does Stephanie's daughter want to live? And does being a PT allow you to do that? Because I think to allow our children to think that they're going to live a fairy tale life on a shoestring budget or on a salary that simply can't allow that to happen, I think that's where so much frustration takes place in our lives. So as a kid, I'm allowed to believe that I can do anything, I can be anything, I can go anywhere, I can have anything. And then I think about what I want to be, because some career teacher comes in and says, hey, what do you want to do? And, what do you want to be for the rest of your life? And I pick a profession, and I pick physical therapy. But nobody sits down and says, hey, does that give you a shot at the quality of life that you really, really want? And then the kid at 13 or 14 might say, well, what does that mean, miss? And the teacher would say, well, look, if you want to live in a beautiful home, and you want a front and back garden, and you want a swimming pool, and you want 2 cars, and you want 5 vacations a year, and you want a good retirement, and you want to leave some money for your kids, and you want to be able to attend big sporting events and great experiences around the world, well, that career that you've just chose there, Tobias, isn't going to allow you to do that. Now, obviously, this is not happening in schools, right? This is part of the problem. But I think it should happen with parents and entrepreneurs, people listening to this podcast. We're at that level where we think differently, we see the world differently, we chose differently, we acted with our feet. We don't just say we're different. We are different because we're one of only 10% of the United States that started a business. We're one of, in England, 3% of the population that starts a business. So we are genuinely different. And really, the best thing about being a business owner is it changes the way you think. It should do. It should be forcing you every day to think differently, to think better, to be sharper. You can't run a business without improving your mindset and strength, as I like to call it. You can't run a business without improving how you make decisions and how you understand people and all of the things that are going on around you and the bullshit that's going on around the world of how people want you to think a certain way to suit their agenda. That surely is the whole point of running a business, is that as an individual running it, you get to attend a personal development seminar every day. That's what I've loved about it. So if I'm talking to my kid, I have that responsibility. I'm not brainwashed into thinking that the school system is going to, in some way, shape or form, be responsible for my child's progress and happiness in life. Frankly, I think that's utterly garbage. I have no other word for it. The idea that some lady in a school who's charged with career development officer in her title, that she is going to be responsible for my child's future is frankly abhorrent. It makes me sick to even think about it. And that I would be handing over my child's happiness and future prosperity and kind of wealth to an education system which frankly stinks and has been proven beyond all reasonable doubt that it doesn't produce happy, well-rounded, financially abundant children. It just doesn't do that. It kicks out people that have possibly memorized and in many cases are actually kicking and fighting against the system. And that's why we get so many children that just don't come out ready or prepared for the real world. The system isn't right for the real world. So I think as an entrepreneur, you've got to sit with your child and say, being a PT, cool, but here's the consequence. The consequence of being a physical therapist is many, many years in school, many, many years of debt, and many years of sacrifice, and there may not be the terrific financial abundance and freedom at the other end, and it's my job to tell you that. Now, if you still want to be a physical therapist, know that it will come with this consequence, and I think that's how every single parent should speak to their children about whatever the life is that they choose. It has to come with the conversation about this will be the consequence. If you choose that, there is a ceiling. The reason I chose physical therapy, I knew from day one, I hadn't even got my place in physical therapy school. I knew I was going to be a business owner. I didn't know how big it was going to be. I didn't think it would be as big as it is today. But I knew in every breath that I was going to go through that course and eventually I'd have my own side hustle. I'd have my own gig, if you like, where I would treat patients on the side. I would be building up a caseload and I would have a facility, probably in a sports center or a gym, and I would run my own business. And in that respect, my ceiling was never going to be capped. My salary was never going to be capped. So I was able to dream very big because I knew that it didn't come with a salary cap when every other physio was thinking my limit is this. I was thinking, well, that doesn't apply to me because I'm going to run a physio business, right? So that's the first thing I would say in this. Being a physio hasn't left this lady broke. The decisions that she's made as a business owner have. Now, this is Paul, the professor of harsh reality, and you're not going to like this, but unfortunately, it's absolutely true that the decisions that this lady has made has caused her to go broke, because there is a physio in Denver, in Colorado. In fact, I work with 3 specifically that I could name. I won't, but I do. I know that they are financially successful. Let's just leave it at that. And they are not, they're not worried about where the next dollar is coming in. Let's just put it that way. There might be some debt that is leveraged to be able to grow the clinic and invest in the business, which is, some people want that type of debt and some people don't, right? That's another conversation or topic for another show. But the reality is it's decisions that this business owner's made. And the number of people who are going into debt in spite of the fact that insurance and the model is a sinking ship, and they continue to take insurance and they continue to face up to, or refuse to face up to, the future and cash pay and AI. That's what's sending people broke, and I'm watching it now happen to cash PTs. The original model that sent people broke was a fully insurance business owner. The model now is a cash PT. One-on-one, everybody wanted it, and everybody set up a gym and in a gym and ran a one-on-one model and advertised, I'm a one-on-one PT. Great. You did that 10 years ago. You made a good salary. The challenge today, it's expenses. Inflation is through the roof. Staff costs are through the roof. Rent is through the roof. The expense of scale is catching out even cash PTs, and they're faced with the idea of renting or borrowing the money, or staying exactly where they are unless they adapt their model. And this is where I'm going with it. So even cash PTs right now, they are refusing to face up to the fact that they need to consider a change in how they operate their business. And until and if they don't wake up to the fact that they have to change, there's a very good chance that they too will either have a very, very small margin business when it comes to profit, or that they will rack up debt in trying to scale. And usually what you find is that somebody takes on money in exchange for not having to make difficult decisions. And that's nearly always what I've found. Somebody goes and has a bad month and they think, that's okay, it'll fix itself next month. Month 2 comes along, bad month. Month 3 comes along, bad month. Month 4 comes along. Before we know it, the business owner's lost all of their business savings. They're now into their personal savings. And then it's not long before the phone call to the bank manager to ask for money or a line of credit to be leveraged against the house. And then before we know it, 2 years in, the business still isn't making money. All of the savings are gone. There's an SBA loan that's been blitzed, and there's a line of credit secured against the home. And this is the predicament that many people end up in. And it's simply because they refuse to make a decision in the business at the time that they had. And I don't care what anybody says or thinks as they listen to this. That is the harsh reality of the life of a business owner. We end up in debt because we refuse to make a decision that we should have done at the time. Just to put this into context, I used to say this to patients in a relatively nicer way than I am today. But if you've come to me with chronic pain, it's because you refused to make a decision 20 years ago to do something. Simple as that. You come to me today with chronic back pain for 20 years, it's because 20 years ago when that back pain started, you refused to do anything about it. You refused exercises, you refused therapy, you refused doctor, surgery, whatever it was. You made a decision to live with it. And I didn't say this is brutal to the patients, but in a roundabout way, that's how most chronic pain exists, right? Most chronic pain walking into your office today happened because 15 to 20 years ago, Dave, who's now 65, didn't do anything about his hip when he was 45, period, right? I've just had surgery. I made a decision age 44 to have a resurface of my hip. Some said, don't, you're too young and all of this nonsense. And the majority of people my age would never, ever have took that option because of the consequence, the knockout time, the recovery, the risk, whatever, right? Whatever the bullshit they come out with. But I did it because I didn't want to grow old with pain and then walk into a physio clinic age 65 and say, what can you do to help me? Knowing full well that they couldn't do anything because I should have made the decision when I was 45. So if chronic pain exists, the majority of chronic pain, now some is, there is underlying conditions, I get that. But the majority of people walking into a physio clinic today with 20 years worth of back pain, it's because they did nothing when it first surfaced in their 40s. If I've got chronic problems inside of my business and I'm now in debt for the last 2 or 3 years, it's because I did nothing. I did nothing 2 or 3 years ago. I knew cash pay was an option and I refused to face up to it. Now, as a cash pay business owner, I know concierge and membership is the future, and I know that AI has come around to help me grow without adding more staff, and I refuse to do anything about it. So I'm causing my own predicament. I'm literally predicting my own future by not facing up to the decisions that I may need to make today as a business owner. So it's not nice when you hear this, and if you are in debt. And again, I appreciate that this might touch a nerve, but it's just designed to tell people this is the truth. Like, this is where we are in life. Somebody somewhere will have told you to raise the prices. You knew that there was a clinic moving towards cash instead of insurance. Right now, the cash businesses think they've got it easy. They're in for a shock as they try to scale. Right, AI's here, and you're already seeing people implement AI, and they're seeing it show up in their margins. They're not worried about some early skepticism or pushback from a patient, 1 in 100, and so on and so forth. So I get it, Stephanie. I get it, and I feel you. I feel your pain. If it's my child, I'm having a conversation with them, asking, why would you? Are you sure that you want the consequence of a career that has a ceiling cap? Because for most physical therapists, it does. Even marketing, right? Marketing doesn't really have a ceiling. When all is said and done, marketing's potential, if you wanted to be a marketer for a living, it has infinite potential. You want to be a salesperson, infinite potential. I just spoke to my sales team today and told them that themselves. I literally said to them, I've just come back from an event. If you're not watching and listening to the sales presentation, because we walked away with 5 new clients out of 6, that sales presentation had something in it that the clients in the room liked. Why aren't you studying it? Because if you go study it instead of watching Netflix, and you do that every other week, and you go back and track all of the webinars that I've ever done over the years, chances are you improve as a salesperson. You improve as a salesperson, the upside is infinite. The upside of being a better and better physical therapist often, unfortunately, has a ceiling, unless you're a business owner, and that's what attracted me to business ownership. I knew it was an infinite upside that only stopped when I couldn't be bothered to learn how to run it, or my life is fine and I'm good. I don't want to develop my skills anymore because it's sweet, right? But I've still got the potential there if I ever wanted to do that. So that's how I would handle that. I get it, the debt thing. It's never too late. The good thing about owning a successful business is tomorrow you can make big decisions. We can trim back. We can carry the debt. But maybe consider letting go of 1 or 2 of the people on payroll, replacing 2 front desk girls for 100 grand a year with 20 grand a year, 15 grand a year AI. Right? We could start to make decisions like that. We can drop 2 or 3 crappy insurances and start to add in high margin cash pay services. It's not too hard to turn around a service-based business if we manage and control expenses and price appropriately and sell appropriately. So I hope Stephanie heeds this and takes everything the right way that I say. It's never too late. We might be saddled with debt, but what I know about business is I've ran a business now in 2 countries for over 20 years, and businesses turn around within 90 days. You can turn around a business quick if you make big, good decisions. And a question to ask yourself is very simply this. If Paul came in and bought my business or took over my business, what would he do differently? And I used to play this game, and I still do to a large degree. What would Richard Branson do if he took over my business? How would he act? How would he behave? What would his first decisions be? And you start to write those things down, and you think, well, he'd probably do this, or he'd fire this person, or he'd raise this price, or he'd do this, or he'd do the other. Great. Why won't you do it? Which is why when businesses take over family-run businesses, it's so easy for them to turn them into a profit, because they have no emotional connection to the decision. And I'll wrap this section up, that is the reason most business owners are in debt. They have an emotional love affair, if you like, with the business, and therefore they can't make the decisions required of successfully running it. And that lands a lot of people in a lot of debt, and it's not a good place to be. So we wish Stephanie well. The conversation with the child, first of all, what I will say on it, isn't it so cool that it's, and again, I always genuinely try and find the positive in a negative. It's my life, and that's what I've done for a long, long time. Fall in love with the fact that your child wants to be like you, right? That to me is amazing. So whatever else we discussed there today, let's not lose sight of the fact that your child wants to be like you. I think that's cool, and I'll drink to that, because that's a life well lived. So good job, Stephanie. Well done. Right, what's next?
All right, we got Brandon Keller in Boise, Idaho. My wife has $100K of student debt.
Oh, shit.
Now she refuses to let me invest in the clinic.
Oh, shit. Right, say this again.
My wife has $100K of student debt. Now she refuses to let me invest in the clinic.
Oh, you hit me today, lad. My wife, so again, let me digest this. My wife has $100K worth of debt, student debt.
Student debt.
And because of that, she refuses to let me invest. Oh, how do I unpack this? Right. I mean, the first thing that pops into my head is we must have known this going in, right? We must have known this going into the marriage. That if the person that you're marrying has been through college, there's a fair and reasonable chance in the United States that it's going to come with a six-figure debt, right? So I think there's a little bit of naivety there. However, what's done is done. And I think if this was this was me, this was in my situation, I would probably talk to this lady. I'd talk to the girl. I'd talk to the wife. It's the husband. Yeah, so husband wants to grow. Yep. Husband wants to grow, but the wife's got the debt. I would talk to the lady about how she must have believed that when she took out $100,000 loan, that it was going to provide a return for that lady's life. In some way, shape or form, she was going to get a return on the money. So she has to believe that by borrowing money and therefore investing in something is a good idea and is a good place to go and is a good thing to do. And I think we need to get her to understand that she believed at the time she took out $100,000 to go into debt to get an education that had no certain outcome at the other end. She believed in the value of investing. Otherwise, she wouldn't have took out $100,000. And I think the first conversation that I would have would be around this. I wouldn't try to convince. I wouldn't try to demand. I think that would make it worse. I would try to remind my wife of her having seen in the past some value, some way, somehow, in investing, because that's what she did when she took out $100,000. She invested in her asset class called skills. She developed or assumed that she was going to develop a skill at college that was going to pay out. And assuming I've done a cash flow forecast, and the reality is for most people, they can afford it. It's often just a nervous system that they are triggering when it comes to investing. And the irony of the whole thing, as we get into this conversation now, the irony of the whole thing is that people who happily borrow $200,000, in this case $100,000, to go to college, they will do so in spite of the fact that there's absolutely zero evidence and zero correlation that points to the guarantee that you will get a return on your money in this day and age now. I can't, unless you wanted to be a hotshot banker or a top doctor or top lawyer or something like that, in which case the reality of $100,000 loan against a hotshot lawyer's salary is trivial, right? It's small change relative to what would be earned. So at the time, I had to have seen some value in investing in developing my skills, which to me is an asset, right? My business skills are an asset to me and my family. Nobody sees it that way because it doesn't sit on a balance sheet. It doesn't appear on Paul's inheritance tax filing one day. It doesn't appear today on my net worth statement. Here's all of his houses and here's his businesses and here's the cash in the bank and here's his crypto and here's his retirement fund. And at the bottom, it doesn't say Paul's skills, but it really should, because the ultimate asset that he's got is himself and is his skills. When most people would, when they very rarely had or have any money, right? So if I go all the way back to my life in the late 20s, a lot of people might have been investing in the stock market or putting money in retirement funds and, trying to get on the property market and things like that. And I was like adamant that the greatest investment that I would ever make would be in my own skills, my own commercial skills. And therefore I was investing in myself first. I was then investing in the business. And because I'd built a successful cash flowing business, I was then able to invest very heavily, consistently in stocks and shares and in property. And that's how I got very wealthy over a 5-10 year period. I got wealthy because I didn't focus on being wealthy and having properties or crypto or stocks and shares. I got wealthy because I focused on the business skills, which was the asset that I invested in. And because I became a better business owner, I was then able to grow the business. And then I started to invest in the business. And then I invested in the business, and the business started to grow, make more money. Each quarter, every 90 days, the business had a surplus amount of cash. I took that cash and I reinvested it into houses. I bought enough houses so that each home, or I had that many homes in the end, the houses started to buy another house, and on and on and on this thing went. But I never really obsessed over having however many houses. I never really obsessed over the grand size of the business. What I obsessed over was the asset called skills. And today, nearly 20 years on since I've started the journey, it has been the greatest single investment that I've ever made in real skills that are commercially important. And I think that's something to consider. So I think as I have this conversation, that's where I'd start, with reminding the wife that there is obviously some merit to investing in an asset, right? And in this case, the asset was the education. It's fair and reasonable to assume that the business owner, as long as there isn't, what we're talking about here is not being able to pay bills, and we're not being able to put food and water on the table and so on. If this is just a nervous system response, then I think a reminder of the kind of accepted view of the majority of the people in the world that it's okay to invest in skills and assets is fair and reasonable, and it should be allowed. But that's where I would go. I would make it absolutely clear. And really, when all is said and done, this goes to and I don't know the relationship, and this is why this is a challenge from this far. But sometimes what I hear is this type of thing where my wife won't let me, right? And they hide behind the $100,000. And actually what they're saying is, I don't trust you. And I think that's actually the probably conversation that we should be having. Is it because they don't trust you and you have a proven track record of not doing what you say you would? And many business owners do. In fact, most business owners say they're going to do one thing, but then they never do it. So there's a fair and reasonable chance here in this home that the wife actually is that the $100,000 isn't the issue. It's that the business owner who wants more money to borrow money actually doesn't do anything, and therefore the wife is protecting him by not letting him get access to more money because he has a proven track record of not doing anything. So I think both of those things need to be deciphered. And the final thing, assuming that you are implementing and you are a good implementer and you are confident, if you believe in it, then you've got to do it. You have to do it, right? And I'm not giving marriage advice here, but you have to do it for the sake of the people that currently doubt you. But you have to go to bed every single night knowing that you will execute. There's not an ounce. You talk to Natalie or anybody that's around me, there's not an ounce of... Not one person would be able to tell you that if Paul says he's going to do something, there's a 99% chance that he'll go to work and he'll execute on it, right? So there's never a problem when it comes to, I want to do this, or I want to put money in, and I want to invest in this, and so on and so forth. Like it's not even discussed, because the outcome's inevitable in the end, that when I do invest into the business, that the return comes. Doesn't always come back that month or that week or that year, but inevitably it comes back, and it makes its way back, because I've learned to be very, very disciplined when it comes to execution, and therefore nobody around me could ever even have a conversation about not going to the bank to get money or to borrow, because they know that I would do exactly what I'm going to say. And that's in the end where all of this tracks back. Most business owners, it's not for a want of hard work and effort, but they're often just working on the wrong things, or they're half-built bridges, or they're just distracted and it's taken 9 months instead of a month, and they're putting out fires and dealing with shit that they just don't want to deal with, so they're tired and lethargic, and therefore the business and the thing that they thought they were going to do never actually gets completed. And that becomes their standard, that becomes their habit, that becomes who they are. And that creates a profile of that business owner. And maybe, I might be wrong, but in this case, the wife might actually know the business owner a little bit better, and she just doesn't want to let him borrow the money because he's never fucking does what he says he's going to do. I might be wrong. I could be wrong, and I hope I am in this situation. But if it's as cut and dry as the lady's got 100 grand's worth of debt and this business owner wants to borrow some money to invest, I think there is an honest adult-to-adult conversation needed here that reminds the wife that she thinks investing in assets is an important thing to do because she herself has done it. And if after that she still doesn't want to let you invest in the business and grow it, well, it's marriage counseling, dude. It's not a coffee with Goffy show that you call. It's legitimately marriage counseling, and I'll tell you why it is, and I make no bones for saying it, because you have not discussed before you got married your values when it comes to money. Simple as that, and that's a horrible thing to say. But unfortunately, we've got into bed with each other, committed to each other. And what we didn't do before we got married was talk about our propensity and ability to deal with risk and money and borrowing and investing and trust and various things. And we haven't discussed all of that before the marriage took place. And now we're getting caught out. And, unfortunately, welcome to one of the reasons, many of them, why so many marriages end in divorce. And that probably wasn't what people were expecting for this call, but it's one of the absolute fundamental things that must be understood and discussed before any long-term relationship is ever sought or agreed. You can have all of the romance in the world. You can have religion if you want it, and that forces you down the aisle, and that's fine. I respect it. You can have peer pressure that forces you down the aisle. You could have lust that forces you down the aisle. All sorts of reasons that forces you down that aisle. But a failure to have conversations or understand each other before walking down that aisle when it comes to a topic called money, it will end in disaster. No hesitation in saying it. If you haven't discussed your religious views, you haven't discussed your financial views and your borrowing risk, you haven't discussed even the influence of your in-laws on raising children, and you haven't discussed even if you want children before you step down that aisle, good fucking luck, because there are the top 4 reasons why marriages end in disaster. Or worse, in my humble opinion, bad marriages actually endure, right? They stay together when they blatantly shouldn't be, for many reasons, which are off the subject of this podcast. But seriously, you're at that level. If you have somebody in your house that doesn't want to borrow money, and in fact, what would make me laugh is somebody telling you not to borrow money when they've borrowed 100 grand. I find that quite interesting, and I would definitely be a little on edge at that conversation. Why somebody thinks it's okay for them to borrow 100 grand for a shitty degree in history or politics or whatever it might be. But we're generally trying to grow a business which has infinite upside. So long as you are willing to implement, and that you do implement, and you have a proven track record of implementing, I don't think anybody should be stopped from investing in the business. But like I said, I will humour the wife because she may be protecting the business owner from himself. So there you go. There's my thoughts. We got more than we bargained for with that one. Yeah, what else?
All right, we got Matthew Collins, Richmond, Virginia. A staff member told my patient that we use AI because I wanted to cut cost. How do I get my respect back when my team is questioning my decision in front of my patients?
I love the staff ones. This is the perennial challenge for a business owner. We are in the AI age, but we're still in the courageous leadership age that we've always been in. And I hope and I implore people listening to this, every single one of you who is looking at AI now, you're already 6 months behind. I'll be polite and tell you that you're 6 months behind if you're not using AI at this point. The reality is you're probably at least 12, maybe even 18 months with some AI agents inside of your business. But anybody who is running a business today that doesn't have an AI agent, at least one, inside of this business, is 6 months out of date. And this is the equivalent in our world of the insurance business model and everybody thinking that cash PT won't work. This is what happened 10 years ago. I was around. I was at the forefront of the movement. I helped explode it. No exaggeration. I helped to explode this movement in this country. And everybody said at that point it wouldn't work. Now, really, were we getting into a cash PT conversation, or were we getting into a courageous leadership conversation? Because that's all AI is today. It's not a tech conversation. It's not a software conversation. It's not a what do I think conversation. It's a leadership conversation. And the reason that most people are shying away from AI right now is because it requires them to have leadership conversations both with patients and staff about its use. And it exposes, as always, the frailties of human beings. When anything new comes along, it exposes the weakness, and I'll say this, of decision making, the weakness of confrontation that they don't like. It exposes any avoidance of decision making that people love to have, which is all under the banner of courageous leadership. So if I'm getting, what did they say? They made comment. So a physio made a comment to a patient. Yeah.
Yeah, so a staff member told my patients that we use AI because I wanted to cut costs. How do I get my respect back when my team is questioning my decisions?
So number one, we are using AI to cut costs, right? Facts. So let's not hide from the fact that that's actually exactly what we're doing, right? My job, my prerogative as a business owner is one thing and one thing only. Newsflash to all of the political nonsense that goes on around the world and all of your fucking ridiculously stupid politicians and journalists who like to think that us business owners are just here for the good of our health and we should bow down and everything's our fault and, you know, we are greedy and ugly and all of these other things that these fuckers want to do. My job, since the day the business ownership began hundreds and hundreds of years ago, was one thing and one thing only. Grow the business as fast as I possibly can, make as much money as I possibly can, and limit the number of expenses I need to make that money. That is it. Nothing else. Everything else is an absolute happy byproduct of that prerogative. If I didn't and don't have that directive, I am an employee by definition, right? And what makes me laugh is all of the people who judge business owners, the politicians, the journalists, millions and millions and millions of employees, not one of them has the balls to start their own business. None of them. And I posted this out recently on Facebook. It was a little bit of an attack against the government in the United Kingdom. I was back there last week. And it was that shit tip of a government wakes up every single day and does nothing but look for ways to beat small businesses with a stick. And yet they stand on stage and they say that they're about growth and they're about the economy and they're about supporting small businesses. And yet every single decision that they make factually hurts and affects a small business's opportunity. That doesn't sit with me. It doesn't make any sense to me that the people, and by the way, none of the people in the government, in their big buildings, in Congress or in their Whitehall or where, you know, on the back bench, wherever they sit, they all toddle off to their states of the unions, and none of the fuckers have ever sat in a position where they've had to hire people with their own money. Now, your Nancy Pelosi's and all of these people, they all sit there, and I'm sure they've got staff of 20. How many staff will she have? 20, 25, probably, kissing her ass, wiping her ass. She won't have touched anything in her life for the last 20, 30 years. Somehow she's a multimillionaire, but she's a politician. Make that make sense as well. And a lifelong politician. These people will probably say, I hire staff. I have staff. This is the irony of these people and how lost up their own ass they are. If you pulled a politician, they'd say, I manage staff. What the fuck? Right? I genuinely remember and we call him an MP in England, a member of parliament, which is what do you call him? What do you call me here?
Out here?
Like senator, right? Senator, same thing, right? Depending upon what house they're in. So member of parliament. And he genuinely, in an interview, said that he understands the responsibility of managing staff because he himself has a staff of 7, right? Which basically means he's got 7 people waiting on his every move, booking every flight, every hotel, managing every expense, telling him where to be, telling him what to wear, telling him what to do. But what he failed to remind everybody is that it's paid for by the taxpayers, i.e. me, right? And what he failed to remind everybody, because they get so lost up their own asses, is that he's never ever faced the pressure at the end of the month of making sure that he gets paid, the staff get paid, or he doesn't, right? He's never ever experienced this. He's never experienced an email on a Monday morning from the government or from your accountant says, just to let you know the rules changed and you now pay more tax here, there and everywhere. Because any expense that these other people incur comes from somebody else's money. And that's what gets me with the politicians. They have absolutely no clue what it is like to run a business, and yet they insist and pressurize. Journalists don't understand what it's like to run a business. Employees don't understand what it's like to run a business. Yet there they are, bashing and bashing and bashing and bashing, and just expecting business owners to pick themselves up off the floor after another. Even the things that are going on around the world right now. There's going to be inevitable consequences for business owners. Now, yes, things, depending upon how long this thing in the Middle East lasts, that's going to cause price rises, undoubtedly, because oil will be stopped and all of those types of things. So it will make its way to the home of every person on the planet. But the business owner will be affected first, and 10 times more. Right? They will be affected 10 times more than an employee, if you like, because everything, you multiply 10, 12, 15 staff inside a basic store or a PT clinic, the cost will rise significantly. And those things, most business owners can't swallow what's about to come over the next 90 days, probably as a result of what's going to go on around the world. So everything in business is about making as much money as you can, right? That's what it's always been about. And when I got onto it, and the politician thing, they look at us as though we're a piece of shit. And yet on the next breath, when behind the scenes they're doing their budget, they're secretly hoping, God, I hope these business owners pull it out the bag for us, because we need another 3 billion next year in this state or that state. And that only comes from small business owners and their initiative and their will and their desire and their hunger and their risk taking. So yeah, I think the business owner should grow a set of balls, basically, and tell the staff that AI is about cost cutting, because that's my fucking job, is to cut costs. My job is not to grow payroll. I'm not responsible for everybody's jobs in this town or in this state. I am responsible for my family and the business as a whole. But what is amazing about running a business is that if you run it right, you grow it, inevitably roles are needed, and amazing people come into your life. And you find that you want to take those people on a journey with you, which has been my absolute love, that I've been able to take people fresh out of college and go on a journey with them that's lasted 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Grow them into better, stronger people, better skilled workers. 3 of them have moved from England. They've been that good. I've been able to get them jobs over here with me in this business. Most of them came in on entry-level jobs in my organization. So I stand here and tell you on one breath that it's absolutely all about making as much money as the business can with the least amount of expense. And equally, I'll tell you that what's wonderful about growing a business is that you get to be a steward and a guide for some really great people who come on the journey with you. So equally, both is true. But for me to tell you that it isn't about making money and cutting costs, A, I'd be a liar, B, I'd be a fraud, and C, I'd be rotten, because it's not that it's true that it's about saving money. But equally, the nuance underneath it all means that if I can save costs, I can reward the staff that are with me. AI, by the way, will expose that you need to fire and give you the best excuse ever to get rid of some staff that you probably were fearful of firing. And, again, just press and rewind this a few times in the future, because it'll land with you very soon that you've got rat-bag staff in your office that probably won't follow scripts, don't like your new price rises. Everything has to be a coalition against you, and they don't do what you want them to do, but you'll tolerate them because there's been no good staff around for the last 5 years since COVID. Now with AI, it's your lucky day, kid, right? Like, this is the magic moment for you to go, okay, dude, like, where's the firing? Where's the bullets? Because there's 2 or 3 staff who have been rotten for years, who shouldn't be in that business. And you can now replace them and not only get rid of all of the political shit and drama and crap that they probably bring to the office and the resentment to you being successful, and you replace them with an AI agent that has no political opinion, will never get sick, and will do 99 times out of 100 what you ask it to do, and better than any human for 20% of the price. So it's happy days, as we say in England right now. So I think with this business owner in Virginia, which is a tough place politically. I've said this before. I've been up there and I've worked with clients in Virginia. In fact, it's one of the, depending upon how high north it is. Where was it?
This was in.
It was in Richmond or Alexandria?
It was Richmond, Virginia.
So that's up there, isn't it? That's up towards DC. Right?
Yeah.
Fuck, he's in trouble. He's in trouble. Like, there's no doubt whatsoever. Welcome to the political, that's as crazy and as wacky as some of the staff shit you hear in California and New York up there. So yeah, unfortunately, you're in the heartland of everybody has an opinion about everything that you do, and anything you do, it's fine as long as it's in the same opinion and sort of way of living as them. But if you step outside of that, those rat bags will pull you down, and they're rotten, some of the people up there, and I don't mind saying that they'll as long as you align with everything that because I've been up there and I've some of my most horrendous experiences that I've watched my clients have gone through, where it's been a mutiny inside of a clinic, have actually happened up there in North Virginia, close to DC. So again, nothing to lose. I'm sharing with you everything that I've been through for the last 10 years with clients. You've got a little bit of a challenge on your hands in certain states when it comes to these things, because everybody will have an opinion about what you do, and you must be courageous enough to move on anywhere. And the good news is the landscape is changing in so many places, that there are so many people out there who do want to support you and back you, and are just not interested in political shit, and just want to come to work and do a good job, and that's what you need to find. So how you deal with it, you absolutely tackle it head on, no fear, no doubt, no remorse. It's about finding cost savings, because that's your job, and your ultimate reason for doing it is you'll be able to reinvest the difference in the business to grow it, which is what I do. You reinvest the difference that the AI agents save you, and you can add more to marketing, you can add more to systems, you can grow the business with less people, reward more people, and so on and so forth. So I just think anybody who thinks AI is a tech conversation is living in cuckoo land. It's absolutely a leadership conversation, and we are at the same point as we were in 2015-16 when insurance business owners laughed at cash PTs. We are now at the same point. The AI first clinics that have already evolved are laughing at the cash PTs and the insurance businesses who refuse to move forward with it. So, as always, courageous leadership. How do you deal with 1 in 200 clients who says that they don't care for AI? I tell you how you deal with them. Tell them to fucking go somewhere else is how you deal with them, because the other 199 are obviously the type of clients that you want to deal with. And how do you deal with staff members who don't care for AI? Frankly, it's got absolutely nothing to do with them, in the same way that they shouldn't have any opinion on the CRM that you use, on the EMR that you use, on the phone lines that you use. That is your job as the business owner, to source and find the best tools, the best systems, the best things that are out there to make growing this business easier and faster and more profitable. It is not the job of staff. And I say this wholeheartedly, and again, 20 years in business, multiple countries, do not ever let the staff pick the software. Ever. Do not let the staff pick the phone lines. Do not let the staff pick the AI. Do not let the staff pick the technology. I know you want to, because you're nice and you want to be liked, and you want this to be a nice little love affair inside of your business where you all get on great, even though that's a recipe for zero profitability. You never let the staff choose your technology, and I'll tell you why, and I learned this the hard way, because the ones who fucking pick it probably won't be there in 6 months, and everybody else has to keep using it. And that is as true as anything I've seen in a business, that you let the front desk girl pick the EMR system, chances are she won't be there in a year, right? So now what? She picked it because she liked it and she left. The ones who are the most highly opinionated on anything that you do are the ones who leave, or should leave, the fastest. The best and most successful employees that I've ever had are supportive of any software that I chose, knowing full well that I went and did my homework on it. I spoke to peers who were already using it. I did my due diligence and I brought it back to my office. I had the support of the team who said, let's fucking go. Right, that's it. And again, I've just given you absolute solid gold there for running a company that you can be proud of. The girl who wants and has an opinion on AI right now is your biggest pain in the ass, and you know it as well as I do. The girl who says, what's this? This is amazing. This is exciting. I have no clue how it works, but I can't wait to find out, is probably the one that will stay with you for 10 years. And there is nothing more certain than everything I've just said in the last 60 seconds. So do with it whatever you want. Ignore it at your peril. But you let those staff rule the roost on the software and the technology. It will come back to bite you in the ass. There you go.
That's good.
Thanks.
All right,
It's like I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's almost like I've been screwed over by letting staff tell me what technology we're using. It's almost like I've been fucked over by letting the front desk girl tell me what EMR we should be using and what phone lines we should get and how many mobile phones and what type of mobile phone. And at the time, I did it because I thought, great, like, she has all of the intentions towards me and my business, and let's keep her happy, and let's keep the physio happy, or let's keep whoever happy. And at the time, I just remember thinking, that seems such a logical decision to let them all be happy with what we're buying. And then they leave, and you're like, the new person comes in and goes, why do we use this technology? And I'm going, well, because the one who you've just replaced wanted it. Well, how long was she here after she made the decision to get it? Well, 6 months. So you abdicated a decision, a big decision like the software and the technology, the EMR, the CRM that you use, now the AI. You abdicate that and have a consensus inside of the business, even though they might not be there in 6 to 12 months, but you will be, and somebody else might have to use it, and you'll have to explain why. That is the madness that goes on inside businesses, which is why they end up in so much debt. It's back to courageous leadership. That's all that's ever at stake in business. The more courageous you are, the more money that you make. In spite of it all today, and in spite of, again, here we are. What do I keep teaching it and I keep saying it. Listen to me for the last 10 years. All you'll ever hear me is say, just wait till next week for next week's snowstorm. Just go on Facebook today, right now. What time is it? 4:38 Eastern on Monday, the 2nd of March. Just go on Facebook, right? I bet you they can't even remember what they were arguing about on Friday. They won't. The same people today, it's the same people who will be whinging like shit as to, some people have got an opinion that they like what's happened, and some people have got an opinion that they're ferociously against it. The same people last week were fighting with the same people this time last week over something else. Now, I'm not saying that what's happened in the Middle East isn't huge. It absolutely fucking is huge, right? There's not much gets my attention, genuinely, right? But this was oh shit, like, this is going to be an interesting moment. But my point is, I'm not going on Facebook and arguing like fuck over it, right? Because I know full well what's going to happen, whatever my opinion is on the damn thing. But the same people this weekend and for the next month or 5 weeks or however long it lasts, it'll be the same people that when the next thing rolls around in April, will be on there fighting about that, right? That's the world that we live in today. Very, very few people are living happy, healthy, well-rounded lives because they're giving their life up to external things, needing to be right on Facebook, weak as piss, needing to be right every single time, feeling bad about themselves unless they are right, or unless they've vented or got into some kind of street fight on Facebook. It's the new street fight, right? That is the Facebook post is the new street fight, right? You're just literally waiting for it. It's a comedy show watching it. When somebody makes a post, I used to think, oh, that's a valid argument. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And it wouldn't even be 30 seconds for somebody who has a completely opposite opinion of whatever valid statement was made above it. And boom, off we go. Everyone replying to each other's comments. Meanwhile, another night goes by without any real control over their own life. And they wonder why it's so shit. And I'll say that. They wonder why their lives are so shitty because they have no emotional restraint over anything. One thing happens, one person says something, and their life is over. And that's ultimately the world that we live in. And people are going to have opinions on you. What's the phrase we use in England? Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, right? Frankly, who gives a fuck about your opinion? I'm not even remotely interested in it. I haven't been for a long, long time. And business has taught me that I have to get to a point where I'm not interested whatsoever in your opinion. Unless you are happier than me, I'm not asking you for advice on being happy. Unless you are a better parent than me, I am not asking for your advice on being a parent. Unless you are richer than me, I'm not asking you for money on investment. Unless you are a better business owner than me, I'm not asking you for advice on running a business. And unless you are healthier than me or you've studied it at a level where you know it better than me, I'm not asking for your opinion on health. Fundamental rule in life. That is it. If you want advice off somebody or you want somebody's opinion, pick a lane and find somebody who is better and smarter than you in it, and be humble enough to go seek them out, pay them, get round them, be with them, spend time with them, and see what you can learn from them, and then go execute on it. It is as simple as that, guys. And for everybody listening, there is zero excuse for anything in this world other than you just follow that little track, and the key point is execute on it. You will have a significantly better life than you do today. But you can't keep saying that you haven't got the opportunities, or you haven't got the time, or you haven't got this, or even the money these days in the Western world. It's like, come on. It's where you're putting your focus. And again, I respect there are some really bad predicaments. I get it, right? Some really bad predicaments. But for the majority of the people in the world, it's ill discipline, it's self-inflicted, it's credit card spending, it's unfocused, it's Netflix, it's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's spending time with losers, it's pizza instead of boiled chicken, it's another half an hour in bed instead of the gym, it's Netflix instead of a book, it's going out for coffee with some miserable bastard just because you knew them 20 years ago, rather than going out with a friend who makes you laugh, who might be a new friend, but who makes you laugh, or who educates you, or who informs you. These are very basic things, guys, very, very basics. And I'm a huge believer in basics and foundations. And if you get those right, and you build on top of them, and you build on top of them, and you build on top of them, you get to the point where you've got the quality of life that you're probably really seeking. So anyway, that's my little wrap for today. 3 questions. I think we're done. Good. Happy with that?
Happy with it.
So remember, get your questions to us. We are taking all of the questions on Instagram. If you want them to remain anonymous, I realize they're getting a bit spicy these days. They're getting a bit saucy, some of these questions, which is good. We're earning a lot of trust with you guys right now. The Planet Paul community is growing by the day. The listenership is growing, so thank you for telling your friends and continue to do that. Let us know what you think with your thoughts and views on the reviews, and we'll add things to it. And if you do have a question, it's Instagram at the Paul Goff is where we will answer your questions. Just tell us if you want it to remain anonymous. I'm very happy to do that. And yeah, we'll be back. We're going to do a few more episodes. I feel like I've got a little bit to catch up on, having been in England last week. I loved being home, but God, do I love landing back in Florida. Sometimes you have to leave Celebration and Orlando in general just to appreciate it. And I know, since I've lived in the US, Florida doesn't always get a great rep from people who don't live in Florida. But I can tell you, once you've been here for a year or two, once you've been here for 2 years, it's very, very difficult to leave. In spite of mosquitoes and hurricanes, there's just something wonderful about living on holiday, essentially, which is what you do in Florida. I always think the rest of the world's at work and we're in Florida. It's like we're in Florida. There's palm trees, there's margaritas, there's swimming pools when you land. It's just a beautiful place to be and spend time. So it's good to be back. And speaking of great places to be, we're heading to Los Angeles in May, like I said at the start of the show. If you are wanting a glimpse of the future, you are one of those courageous PTs, you've got genuine ambition, Los Angeles is the place to be. May 1st, 2nd and 3rd. We'll have 200 PTs across 3 days. One unforgettable night. Saturday is what we're calling the Cashies. And it is the first time ever that we are bringing an awards ceremony that will rival the Grammys to the PT profession. So we're going to recognize and reward the mavericks who started their businesses, many of them, years and years ago, that you are probably riding in their tailwind right now. So we're going to acknowledge and recognize some of the superstars of this PT profession. Many of them you will have heard on this podcast, and you will get a chance to rub shoulders with what we believe to be some of the most successful and inspiring, happy to help as well, by the way, PTs of this profession. It's across 3 days in LA, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I'll be on stage for at least 75%. And I'm going to share with you the future. We're going to look into the future AI first cash PT clinics. And I will show you inside of a business model that I believe, if you run right, will be 30 to 35% margins as standard moving forward because of AI. And I will show you an AI agent, a little helper, that will fit in every single department in your business, from recruitment to finance to marketing to front desk function. You name it, I will find you an AI agent and show you how you can implement it into your business so that you can grow and scale successfully without adding more people to the business. It's called the Cash Pay Summit. We're featuring the Cashies, and we'll be in Los Angeles May 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Get in touch on Instagram at the Paul Goff, or simply head over to cashpaysummit.com and you can register for information and ticket prices. Whenever you listen to this, it will be the lowest price ticket. All right, that's enough for me. I will see you across the course of the next few days. Thanks for listening. See you soon. Thanks, Instagram.